Mr. Andrews.
I'd again like to thank the panel for obviously a lot of time preparing for this morning and very, very good testimony. Thank you for taking time out of your businesses and your work to do this work. We talked about 2 Americans today, and we didn't talk about 1 American. We talked about the American who has a $33,000 a month drug bill who's hemophiliac, which is just stunning. And the question in the air was what to do about that problem. And the Affordable Care Act does provide an answer. It says that if that person works for a very small employer, they will be able to go into the exchange, buy health insurance as good as mine at a price that's affordable given their income, and not run into an annual or a lifetime policy limit and have the insurance cover the cost of the drug. And that cost will be spread upon all the participants in the exchange of that state. My state, that'll be about 1 million people, which is a cost that has to be borne, but spreading it over 1 million people is a pretty rational strategy. The person works for a larger employer. That larger employer is in a more difficult situation unless they can get into the exchange. And I predict to you that by 2017, one of the issues will be whether Congress should encourage states to open up their exchanges to more people, because they're going to want to spread those costs that way. The second person we talked about, Dr. Rowe, talked about his constituent who is a carpenter whose spouse is a waitress at a diner making $35,000 a year. What this law says for them is if they work for a business with more than 50 employees, they're going to get covered at work with coverage as good as mine. If they work for a smaller business, and I think they would in his case, they'd be able to go into the exchange, buy a policy with a contribution from themselves that's reasonable given their income. Now, whether this is good for the country or bad for the country is debatable and yet to be seen. But the American we didn't talk about today is the unemployed carpenter, the unemployed waitress, the unemployed teacher, the unemployed real estate salesperson. And that's who we should be talking about. I'll tell you, the President has put forward a plan that addresses what we hear is the consensus concern among the real job creators in this country, which are small business people. Employers with 50 or fewer employees create 2/3 of the jobs created in America. 2/3. And what they're telling us and what they are telling researchers is lack of demand is the main problem in their business. The President has put forward a plan that would put demand to the economy by employing construction workers, putting them back to work. But we haven't taken a vote on that. And he's put forward a plan that says we'll cut the taxes of that small business if they hire an employee. But we haven't taken a vote on that. It says that we'll avoid a shock to the demand in the economy by postponing a tax increase on middle-class families of $1,500 a year, January 1st. But we haven't taken a vote on that. It says that we'll avoid a shock to demand in the economy by not laying off more teachers and police officers and firefighters. But we haven't taken a vote on that. This is the issue affecting the country. If you want to vote no, vote no. If you want to amend the plan to come up with a better idea, that's the way the legislative process works. But I think it is the height of irresponsibility to deprive the House the chance to vote on that plan. And with all due respect, that's the Americans we should be talking about today in addition to the ones that we did. Mr. Chairman, I appreciate the scope of this hearing. I did ask unanimous consent to include in the record two articles, one Misrepresentations, Regulations, and Jobs by Bruce Bartlett, an alumnus of the Bush and Reagan administrations, and the second is the Kaiser report press release that's been cited earlier today.
Without objection, so ordered.